Have you ever heard of James Clear's incredible book, Atomic Habits? Well, today we're going to break down its simple but honestly life-changing idea that the tiniest changes, when you do them over and over, can lead to absolutely remarkable results. Let's dive in.
So the whole book, it really boils down to this one tiny idea. What if you just tried to get 1% better at something every single day? It sounds so small, right? Almost pointless. But the magic isn't in that 1% change. It's in the power of showing up, day after day.
Okay, so let's just play this out. What really happens if you actually stick with that tiny 1% improvement, not just for a week, but for a whole year? This is where you see what Clear calls the aggregation of marginal gains, where these little wins start to build on each other. Yep, 37 times better. It's not a typo. This is the heart of Atomic Habits. Small improvements don't just add up, they multiply. They compound. Think of it like interest on your savings. Your effort builds on itself until you get this incredible growth that seems to just appear out of nowhere. You know, this quote just perfectly captures that feeling of slow, invisible progress. Clear tells this great story about a stonecutter who just hammers away at a huge rock. 100 times he hits it, and nothing, not even a crack. But on that 101st strike, the whole thing splits in two. Now, was it that last hit? Of course not. It was all the work that came before it. And that is exactly how habits work.
Okay, so that's the why. But what about the how? How do we actually build these habits that lead to that big breakthrough moment? Well, it all starts by understanding the basic science behind how our brains form a habit. It's a simple 4-step loop that's running in the background all the time.
First up, there's a cue. This is the trigger, the thing that gets your brain to pay attention. That cue then sparks a craving, which is the real motivation to act. The craving, in turn, drives you to a response. That's the habit itself. And finally, you get a reward, which satisfies that craving and basically tells your brain, hey, that was good. Let's remember to do that again.
So if that's the loop, how do we hack it? Well, Clear gives us 4 laws for building good habits, one for each step. Let's kick things off with law number 1, which targets that first step, the cue. The law is just this: make it obvious. If you want a habit to stick, the trigger for it has to be right there in your face.
And you might be thinking, how much of a difference can an obvious cue really make? Well, check this out. In one study, there were 3 groups. The first 2, one of which even got a big motivational speech, barely exercised more. But the third group, all they did was write down exactly when and where they would exercise. That one simple act of planning, of making the cue obvious, sent their success rate skyrocketing to 91%. Incredible, right? So what does this mean for you? It means you need to stop fighting your environment and start designing it. You can become the architect of your own habits. Instead of relying on pure willpower, just tweak your surroundings. You want to remember to take your vitamins? Don't hide them in a cabinet. Put the bottle right next to your coffee machine so you can't miss it. Make the easy path the right path.
All right, on to law number 2. This one is all about tackling that craving part of the loop. And the rule is, make it attractive. I mean, it's just common sense, right? We are way more likely to do something if we actually want to do it. One of my favorite tricks from the book for this is something called temptation bundling. It's super clever. You basically pair something you have to do with something you love to do. Clear tells this awesome story of an engineering student who literally hacked his exercise bike so that it would only play Netflix if he was pedaling at a certain speed. He bundled the temptation of watching TV with the habit of exercising. Genius.
But you know what? Maybe the most powerful way to make a habit attractive isn't a trick at all. It's about people. It's about our deep primal need to fit in with our tribe. We are wired to adopt the habits of the groups we're a part of because our culture sets our expectations for what's normal. Just how strong is this pull? Get this. A massive study that followed 12,000 people for over 30 years found that a person's chance of becoming obese jumped by a whopping 57% if they had a friend who became obese. The habits of those around us are contagious. So the lesson is pretty clear. If you want to build better habits, surround yourself with people who already have them. Okay, law number 3. This one's about the response, the action itself. And the rule is, make it easy. This taps into one of the most fundamental laws of human behavior. We are lazy. We will almost always follow the path of least resistance. So to build a good habit, you have to lower the friction to get it done.
And here is the ultimate weapon against procrastination, the 2-minute rule. The idea is so simple it's brilliant. Any new habit you're trying to start should take less than 2 minutes to do. You're not trying to achieve the whole big goal right away, you're just trying to master the art of showing up.
So instead of read every day, your new habit is just read 1 page. The goal of run 3 miles becomes just put on my running shoes. The whole point is to create what Clear calls a gateway habit, something so easy it gets you started down the right path. Once you've mastered the first 2 minutes, it's so much easier to just keep going.
All right, we've made it obvious, attractive, and easy. But there's one last piece of the puzzle to lock that habit in for good. This brings us to law number 4, which closes the loop by focusing on the reward. The law is, make it satisfying. This is the golden rule, really. What is rewarded is repeated. For a habit to stick, it has to feel good. But here's the problem, right? Our brains are kind of wired against us on this one. We evolved to want instant gratification. The reward for a bad habit, like eating junk food, is immediate and delicious. The reward for a good habit, like going to the gym, is, months away. So we need to find a way to feel good now.
So how do we fix that? We need to give ourselves an immediate win. And the paperclip strategy is such a great physical way to do this. There's a story about a stockbroker who started with 2 jars on his desk, one full of 120 paperclips, one empty. Every time he made a sales call, he'd move 1 paperclip over. It's so simple, but it's a visual, immediate hit of satisfaction that shows you you're making progress.
This is all about building a streak, right? That feeling of momentum. And nobody talks about this better than the comedian Jerry Seinfeld. He uses a big wall calendar, and for every day he writes new jokes, he puts a big red X over that day. After a few days, you get a chain, and then, he says, your only job is to not break the chain. The streak itself becomes the satisfying reward.
So we've gone through all 4 laws. Make it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. But, and this is where the book gets really profound, the real goal here isn't just about what you do. It's about who you become. It's not just about getting a result. It's about shifting your identity. See, it works both ways. Your habits prove your identity to yourself, and your identity drives your habits. The goal isn't just to read a book, it's to become a reader. The goal isn't just to run a marathon, it's to become a runner. So the real deep question you have to ask yourself is this: who do you wish to become?
And that brings us to the single most powerful idea in the entire book. Every single action you take, no matter how small, is like casting a vote for the type of person you want to be. Every time you go to the gym, you cast a vote for being a healthy person. Every time you practice an instrument, you cast a vote for being a musician. Your habits are how you embody your identity, proving to yourself one tiny action at a time who you really are.